There, I pressed the right button, and now I'm actually live. I'm supposed to be like making my background not look at. Oh man, the camera immediately. Oh, that's why.
Are you okay? You good?
Yeah, the webcam went out of focus and didn't want to go back in.
Uh-oh.
We have a different webcam now, so we will do that. Okay, we don't have a different webcam. I borrowed Lisa's. Mine's garbage. we actually sat down, put in like all the webcams, and we used the computer camera. We used Lisa's webcam, my webcam, and then realized that Lisa's webcam actually focuses, which is cool. Hi, Robin. Yeah, Lisa's off getting some editing done, so she's might be around, might not. I don't know. I have no idea what she's going to do, but that's okay. What are we doing here? I got to open a window is what I got to do. It's like 400 degrees in here. I'll be right back. I'm here. There we go. No, I just wanted to open a window. The heat was on. We have this thing going. You ever? I don't know. This didn't seem to be a thing that I had to deal with in Ontario, but out here, we'll have a few cold days and a few springtime here. It's like too cold or too warm. nothing predictable. So you turn the heat on, and then the heat stays on for a while, and yeah. Is it a good Friday for this topic? What are Silurians? Silurians. The Silurian hypothesis is really, I think it's really interesting. I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if you guys are gonna find it interesting, but we were talking. Pardon me. We were talking last week about Atlantis, and one of the primary theory that supports Atlantis is the idea that prior to our written history, like the Akkadian, because going backwards, you got the Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Akkadians, whoever, that there was an advanced civilization that spread out, right? Well, the Silurian hypothesis takes it a little further. Now, the Silurian hypothesis is actually named after Doctor Who, because in a Doctor Who episode, I'll tell you the Doctor Who episode. Well, in a story arc of Doctor Who, the enemies were these lizard people who were an advanced lizard race that existed on Earth millions and millions and millions of years ago. And then through whatever bullshit and magic that happens on Doctor Who, they encountered them in the modern times because they survived in this whatever form. The Silurian hypothesis says that it, as a hypothesis, which means it's like a theory, says that considering the sheer age of the Earth and considering the number of times in Earth history that we've had very, very stable environments for extremely long periods of time, the Silurian hypothesis is that intelligent life that is non-human but intelligent in the way that we define intelligent has existed at least once before in our history. And due to the millions and millions and millions of years between their existence and ours, there's just no evidence left. That's the Silurian hypothesis in a nutshell. So what we're going to chat about today is all the stuff. That's not what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. What we're going to chat about today is the stuff that goes into why there are, of course, most people, popular science, regular science. What is this? I found this one. No, I don't want to do that. There we go. So that's it. That's that is the topic in a nutshell. And so why would people believe that? Why would people believe that a non-human intelligent life formed? And we've got lots and lots and lots and lots of reasons. Let's start with reason number one. current research, we owned a talking parrot. Are Silurians predecessors of the reptilians? Yeah, kind of, right? The Silurian hypothesis itself was named in honor of the Doctor Who Silurians. But yeah, basically the reptilians, right? We talk about people talk about reptilians. And it's like, well, if reptilians evolved on Earth, they would have evolved millions and millions of years before us. And that's the whole hypothesis. So where people are like looking for proof or clues or this, oh, hi, Gail, where people are looking for proof or clues or things like that is in the shit that's going on around us. How would we go about proving? We can sit there and go, well, logically, it makes sense that it could have happened. If you put aside human arrogance for a minute, you can go, well, logically, it makes sense that it could have happened. Now, how do we go about demonstrating that it was not just a theory? How do we go about demonstrating that it was likely? So the first share screen, that's what I want to do, right? There it is. There it is. There it is. Wait, I think I'm doing it right. I'm doing it right. Oh my God. Okay. Is there any way? Of course, it's not going to do it with the way I want to do it. This is not. Let me just get my face out of here. Oh no, I think if I take myself off, the sound goes away, right? Isn't that what we found out last time? Did we not find that out last time? Okay. This is a snapshot. Let's see if I can get this. I'm going to fight with this camera like forever.
You're going in and out of focus?
No. I'm trying to get... There you go. That's a little bigger. I'm just trying to get this to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is basically a lovely little graphic showing the different ages. Earth forms 4.6 billion years ago, right? And then so for the first couple of billion years, we're trucking along and it's just there's nothing happening, right? The Earth is formed, nothing's really happening. And then we also have during the Paleozoic age, which is the first one, we do have the Silurian period, which is probably what the Doctor Who story arc was named after, and now the hypothesis. That makes things get confusing. So then we've got all the little tiny things are starting to evolve and this sort of thing. We get into the Triassic, things are getting a little bit bigger. We get into Jurassic, 199 million to 146 million years ago. That is like a 50 million year period where the dinosaurs were running around. We've got the Cretaceous. That also came after the Jurassic. So Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. That's the middle there where the green is. We got all of this stuff being formed. And they're getting bigger. They're getting this. They're getting that. So starting 252 million years ago up until 65 million years ago, that's kind of the biggest chunk of the age of dinosaurs. Then we have a big extinction. Going to the Paleocene, the Eocene, Oligocene, Miocene, Pliocene, Pleistocene, Holocene. We kind of emerged so basically we're like near the top here. 1.8 million years ago, that's just the second one down from us. 1.8 million years ago is kind of about when some of the earlier ancestors, they're not human yet, but they're going to become humans. That's when we start showing up. We're the top two little pieces of the Cenozoic, which is the top one. We're the most recent section of the Cenozoic. And all that other shit is happening before us. So that's where the theory comes from. It's like, how can we say, oh, hi, Michelle. Oh, good. Yeah, it's actually Lisa actually is home today. It's Good Friday, so she's got today off, but she's also editing today. So she'll be around, but I don't know for how long or if at all. Who knows? So we're starting our little adventure in, is it possible that hi Tammy, we're starting our little adventure of is it possible that something more advanced, that something intelligent. Now, we'll talk about what intelligent means later, right? Michelle says hi, everybody else says hi.
I just said hi.
She said hi. Oh, there she is. Procrastinating my editing. Okay. So there's your first big, this is your first big thing. Okay, we've got the initial early periods of the planetary development where, like, for the first, I gotta go back. I gotta go back to the bigger. Yeah, it's a working holiday. Well, she wants to get everything done. She's doing all of her filming stuff now. That way we're gonna have the whole weekend, right? So from 4.6 until 500 million years ago, we're talking about the Earth is still cooling and shifting and forming its land masses, and it's doing all of its stuff. So as far as now, this is also where it gets interesting. So we don't really have any ability to look back into Earth's history past 542 million years ago, even though the Earth has been around for 4.6 billion years. This adds to the theory instead of taking away from it, because we've got giant extinction events where something happened and just boom, everything died, right? We know those happen. People talk about that sort of stuff, right? So the first 2 or 3 billion years of Earth's existence, well, 4.5 billion to 500 million, the first 4 billion years of our existence, we've got nothing. Now, this is a theory that kind of gets bumped around a little bit here and a little bit there. Yeah, this is a theory that gets bumped around a little bit here and a little bit there. So you got to bear with me. This kind of ends up rambling a bit, but then hopefully it'll get good later. So one of the theories is that we could even be looking past 500 million years ago into really, really, really far back in Earth's history, where in 500 million years, we've formed entire continents. We've had Pangea, which is a single supercontinent, break up into what we have now. Why is it impossible? Why do we believe that it's impossible that it hasn't already happened before, and some cataclysm and just sunk everything and made us literally start over from scratch? Because tectonic plates, I'm already babbling in circles. Tectonic plates being what they are, two plates crash, they're either going to go like this, or they're going to go, or one's going to go under, or sometimes they both go under, depending on how it's all done, right? So we're looking at, because of plate tectonics and how the Earth moves about and does its things, there could be entire ages of evolution of things that just simply naturally went back under, did their thing, like, so we don't know. That's number one. I'm not gonna die on this particular hill, because that gets really weird. And I don't know if it gets really weird really fast, but this can get really weird really fast, because we've already got, let me see if I can find it. No, I'm not going to find it. I had one. Oh, there it is. This one's hard to recognize. Okay. Oh, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Basically, let me just look it up. There's a map of Pangea. Oh, this is a good map of Pangea. Okay. Let me see if I can bring it up into a big one. I find one. This is, I actually took a little bit of time for a. There we go. Okay. Share this one. Okay, this is Pangea. This is somebody's idea of what the Earth looked like 500 million years ago. Okay, so 500 million years ago. I'm gonna scroll this up and down a bit. So we've got Australia leaning against the Antarctica. We've got a single landmass completely surrounded by ocean. So what people are asking, and like this is just an estimate. This is just showing how they slot together as things have spread out. So Saudi Arabia over here, there's Brazil, there's the United States, Canada up at the top, Mexico, And it's entirely possible due to pole shifting, which is something that got mentioned already, that it could have been sideways, it could have been like on the bottom. We don't know, right? So with that in mind, one of the things that we're looking at is, what is it possible that other land masses existed in all of this ocean that was not attached? We got no way to know. We've got no way to know, because if there were other land masses, they've now subsided fully into the crust. I mean, into the magma. They're melted. They're gone, right? So 500 million years ago, we believe that this is what the Earth mostly looked like. If anything else existed off to the east and the west of this landmass, or north and south, or northeast, southwest, however the planet itself was oriented at the time, if anything else existed in the rest of the world, we have no further evidence of it. But we do know that life existed, like during these earlier times, during this, while this was happening. So starting 500 million years ago in the Cambrian, then the Earth looked like this. And then it moved and it shifted and it adjusted. This is why koalas, and this is why certain marsupials, well, this is why there's only one marsupial that exists outside of Australia. This is why certain animals only exist in certain areas, evolution as it is. And then as the Earth itself is changing and removing certain areas from just being able to contact, to migrate to different areas. Okay. So this really isn't even, this kind of stuff existing the way it is kind of what started. Yeah. This is kind of what started the kind of thinking that became the Silurian hypothesis. It's like, wait a second, all this stuff is going on. Like, okay, look at the line, and you can see it here. Look at this line that starts off in Canada, starts off with Canada up here to the top, goes all the way down, following the coast of Africa. Well, that is now the Atlantic Ocean. And we know that there are land masses throughout the Atlantic, right? There are land masses throughout the Atlantic. There is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. There's the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Okay. So when everything was pulling apart, you're going to have like a subduction zone. You're going to have like two plates that are pulling apart, lava and whatever's coming up from the center, right? Well, now we have the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is evidence that it's starting to push back together a little bit, or it wouldn't be doing this. It cannot do this. Well, actually it can. It pulls apart and then lava comes up. I do not know enough about that, because what I thought I knew, sometimes you reach back into things that are either you're misremembering, the thing that you learned, because new things come up all the time. Like we were talking about New Zealand being part of its own continent, and that's really new science. That's very new science. If you learned about, when I was a kid, I learned that Australia and New Zealand were part of the same tectonic plate, and now we learn that there's a separate New Zealand plate, right? So there's definitely stuff that I am and will be wrong about as I explore this shit in detail. So but then again, like I said, that's the way things go, right? So anyway. So the Pacific closed up, and some of the areas of the Pacific, like Indonesia, Japan, where else? Like a lot of those places have only been formed in the last 500 million years, as things moved over, as plates collided and uplifted and all this shit. This becomes important, because it's like, let me just bring up this map. Let me see if it shows it. Yeah. Okay. So I see New Guinea at the bottom. There's New Zealand here. And we know that New Zealand became its own continent. There's the Philippines, maybe. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. But Iran, Oman, Yemen, there's Saudi Arabia right there. China, all these areas. But they didn't exist in that spot anymore. And some of these land masses do not, like Iran, I think, is landlocked. Iran, like, yeah, Turkey and all this stuff down here came up, but what was in the way? What got pushed under to let this move? And don't forget, we're not talking about two land masses floating on a pail of water. We're talking about the Earth itself. The crust is its own layer. The crust has areas of water, like a pond, it's like a pond. It doesn't go down into nowhere. There's still land under all this water. Was it above the water? Was it below the water? Did the Earth even have this much water at the time? Like, we know that comets are basically made of ice. How much water did the Earth actually have 1 billion years ago? We don't know. We don't, and we've got no way to know. How much of this ice just came in, asteroids, whatever, right? So now that I've beaten that to death for a minute, and this, like I said, this is I need my pie, yeah. So this, and like I said, this is kind of like the dry, boring part of it, because a lot of this hypothesis is kind of based on this. It's like, there are, for starters, finding evidence of anything requires a stroke of luck almost as much as anything else. If you start off in the Russian tundra, look at Russia up here, right? Look at that. Okay, so this area here, so you take this area here, you put the Silurians in Russia, in the middle of Siberia, which is already like almost nobody lives there, right? It's very barren. It's or the north of Canada, very barren, not a lot of population. Greenland, right in the right. They've already proven that at one point Greenland was a jungle. And this is depending on what the Earth itself climate conditions were like at the time, and whether or not Greenland was further south than what it is now, right? So then you park a mile-high glacier on Greenland, and if that turns out that is where an ancient 500 million year old intelligent civilization was posted, every single piece of evidence of their existence is now gone, because a mile-high sheet of ice is just like the world's biggest piece of sandpaper. Gonna just destroy it, right? That's part of the theory. Anyway, so now we're gonna go. This is interesting. This not interesting. It's all interesting to me. If it wasn't interesting to me, I wouldn't be talking about it, right? So yeah, this is a different map, but it's showing the same idea. This is a different map showing the same idea, but when you take out, all that area that was between everything else, it's gone now. Land laid out like this totally makes me think of the flat Earth beliefs. Absolutely, absolutely. When I see a map of Pangaea, my first thought is, my first thought, when I see a map of Pangaea, I go straight into two thoughts. And it's like, well, all of the Earth being in just one spot doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense. It kind of really doesn't. And was there really that much water? Like I said, like we've already shown that when we have tons and tons and tons of evidence of meteor bombardment, of being struck by meteors over the 500 million years of history that we can still see. So it's like, how much water did the Earth have? Was the water already here as part of our formation, or was it something that was brought to us in the form of asteroids and comets? If the Earth had less water than it has now, then it's entirely possible that Pangaea was much, much bigger. This sort of thing. We don't know. We don't know. Hey, maybe that's where the image came from. Yeah, the gray area looked like the fool with his backpack walking east into the void. I'll tell you right now, some of this stuff walks east into the void, whether you want it to or not. So this is the geographical, and it doesn't add to the theory, but it kind of shows us that we can't really disprove it. This is what I found interesting about the Silurian hypothesis, is because we can't prove it didn't happen that way. We can't. We walk out in the middle of a field. In theory, after 4.5 billion years, if you walk out to the middle of the field and put in a core, those special drills that take out a core sample, we should find something every single time, and we don't. Of course not. If you were to turn off the lights and leave this city alone for 10,000 years and come back, if if you're off by 5 feet, you're going to go, oh, nothing ever lived here. There's a little creek out behind my place, right? We have a little gully here. I'm in the middle of a major urban area, but every house, everything that, just think of where you live right now. And for most of us, stepping outside means that we're stepping out into at least some area that is green. You put down your little feelers looking for evidence. You're going to have a direct hit to find it. And a direct hit is actually far less likely than you think it is. Because not only do you have to identify where a likely settlement would exist, but you then have to actually find it. Archaeologists now, they find things by looking at evidence. They look for other evidence, other things that come up randomly by accident, and then go, oh, this might be where it's from. And then they go look. Like when they found Göbekli Tepe, that was because, okay, why did they wait, maybe I've got the wrong place. Nope, that's the wrong one right there. I want that one. No, I want that one. Did I want that one? I want that one. Yeah, Göbekli Tepe. Now, Göbekli Tepe is really, really important because it's one of the oldest settlements ever found. It was first examined and dismissed by University of Chicago and Istanbul University anthropologists in the 1960s. They dismissed it. They saw some broken slabs of limestone and assumed that the mound was nothing more than an abandoned medieval cemetery. They made assumptions based on what it was, how old it was, why it was there. They made all kinds of assumptions, and it wasn't until, 1960s, so it wasn't until like 60 years later that they just, oh, I guess we should go dig that up now, and went, oh, shit. And they found this massive, it doesn't look like much to us. This is Göbekli Tepe. Doesn't look like, this does not look like much to us, but this is over 20,000 years old. At a time in an area. This is like 20,000 years old at a time and in an area where it was believed that the best we had was, it's in Turkey. The best that we had was nomadic hunters, Stone Age tools, blah, 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 blah. And yet they built this giant complex. And this is just one of the better photos of it. Let me see if I can find a better photo. It's part of it. It's part of a giant. It's huge. It's now a World Heritage Site. Yeah, this is if I could click things without wrecking things. I don't want to download the photo. I just want to share the tab. Okay. This here, where is it? This little area here is that photo. And this is part of the bigger complex that they are still excavating. And they are expecting, and this is from 2013. They've done way more since then. So they're digging this stuff up one bit at a time, and this is what they're finding. This is not just, but this was, they're assuming, these are just hunter gatherers without any, living in tents, herding their goats, doing whatever. Maybe not even advanced enough to have farming, because I think farming provably started like 7,000 years ago. This has existed for 20,000 years. Wasn't it 20? I have to go look up. Let's go look it up. How old is Göbekli Tepe? I want to make sure I'm giving the right age. Mind you, they keep giving. Yeah, 8,000. The settlement was inhabited between 9,500 to at least 8,000 BC. So basically, it was inhabited for 1,500 years, which is about 1,000 years longer than most of our current modern societies. 9,500 years ago, and yet, yeah, it's during the pre-pottery Neolithic. Like they weren't even smart enough to develop pottery, but they made this. Okay, and it is in Turkey. So this adds to. This is one of those. This hypothesis is building a case on breadcrumbs of other discoveries, other facts, other things. So it gets a little bit convoluted. It gets a little bit convoluted to explain as a theory. Why do you think it's possible? Well, it's like, as a theory, I think it's possible because even going back 10,000 years ago into our own history, we have a bit of a time finding anything. Every day we're coming up with proof that our own history involves us being far more advanced. Göbekli Tepe is far more advanced than it should have been. It's like, well, wait a second, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I thought we knew everything, right? Like, and it involves things like, we're talking like the pyramids. Okay, the pyramids, we're saying, they say the pyramids are what, like less than 5,000 years old or something like that. And yet today in our modern science, we can't build a pyramid. We can't do it. We do not have the technology to build a pyramid at all. We could do it. Yeah, we're on the timeline that the Great Flood occurred. The Great Flood occurred. Let me get back here. The Great Flood, according to the timeline, would have happened like, according to the Bible, the Earth is 6,000 years old, and so the flood would have occurred about 4,200 years ago. Isn't that right? Let's see. Approximately 4,359 years ago in the year. Don't forget, they base that assumption based on the chronology lists in the Bible, because like the book of Numbers and stuff like that, so and so begat so and so, he lived for 100 years, had a kid, did this. Adding up all of the ages of all of the ancestors that are listed in the Bible means that the flood happened about 4359. And of course, then we track everything right up until a certain point. And then once we hit that point where, where we're talking about the story of Jesus and stuff like that, we have other historical evidence, yada, yada, yada. So yeah. So 4,300 years ago, this giant flood happens. And this has already existed for 5,000 years before that, minimum 5 to 10,000 years before that. And that is based on when they find an area like this, like Göbekli Tepe, when they find an area like this, what they are using is, when they find an area like this, what they are using is, yeah, I thought it would be much earlier. Well, that's one level of civilization disappearing to restart again. Yeah, we according to, okay, the biblical flood is, there's something about it that did happen. Was this divine retribution from an angry God? I doubt it, but every single culture has their story of a divine flood that destroyed mankind, made us start all over. So, according to the flood myth, we have if that flood happened, regardless of whether or not there was a religious connection, if that flood happened about 4,500 years ago, we have built everything from scratch in 4,500 years. And yet, let's go back to my little mappy here. 4,500 years is what it took to bring us from the Stone Age. Whatever happened to drive us back to the flood, okay, whatever's going on with humanity, the flood knocks us back to the Stone Age, period. And using that as a starting point, I'm trying to click buttons and do it right. I'm just not doing it right. Okay. Come on. Oh, okay, there we go. Whew. I found this graphic on a Reddit post. So, okay. So now if you take a look at this entire chart, see how tall that little thing is? So Holocene started about 10,000 years ago, and according to the biblical scholars, the flood happened about halfway through that. Holocene is the very top one, the very, very top. Look at everything that's happened all the way before this. Now, when we get to the Mesozoic period, the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous, the ones in green here in the middle, those periods lasted for millions of years. Millions. 10,000 years ago, when we went from the Pleistocene to the Holocene, that is approximately when the Younger Dryas event happened, where we had a rapid cooling and then a rapid warming. This sort of thing. We don't know what may or may not have happened in terms of weather or stuff like that, but like we know that during the Triassic, and Cretaceous, and that's before moving into 65 million years ago, but we know that some of these animals, T-Rex was the king of the planet for 100 million years. We've been kings of the planet for less than 5,000. So, and we find dinosaur fossils by going to certain areas. Like, oh, there was an evidence of a flood here. Well, during a flood, animals get washed away. Let's look here and see that's why when, like in Canada here, we've got a big area where we keep pulling out lots and lots of fossils, and it's actually at the end of a floodplain where it's like there's enough evidence to make it it's a fairly easy guess to say that whenever flooding came through the areas, this is any animals caught in the flood. This is where their bodies would settle. That's why we keep finding them there. So they just keep going there to find more. They're not going elsewhere. I'm not going out in my backyard and digging down 300 feet to see if I can find a dinosaur just for shits and giggles. It's not happening. So we're going into areas where we can be, you don't want to waste your resources. You do your research and you go, hey, there's a really good chance if there's going to be dinosaurs in this area, there's a really good chance they're going to be over here. But the thing is that the intelligent things, whatever is intelligent, like we had a big flood over here not too long ago, a couple years ago, we had a big spring flood and swept through a couple of farms. Well, the people that owned the farms got the fuck out of the way and took as much of their stuff with them as they could. Right? So the things, I'm saying it's kind of gruesome. Oh, hi, Kendra. So this is kind of gruesome, but the reality is that if a flood is coming your way, what are you doing about it? Well, I'm intelligent. I'll just stand here and take my chances. I'm just going to blindly run. No, you're going to go like when we got the weather report that this. Oh yeah, when we got this weather report that this big flood. It's like, hey, this is what's going on. There's a really good chance of some major flooding. Then what they did was they did what they could to protect their animals. They removed anybody who could take their animals out of the area did. Anybody who couldn't did what they did to protect their animals. And the people themselves, for the most part, left the area. That's what intelligence does. That is the evolutionary advantage that intelligence gives you. Hey, a bad thing's happening. Let's get out of the way. So if I'm a T-Rex herder, if I'm a Silurian T-Rex herder, and there's a big ice wall just collapsed because it's still in the, we don't know what the weather would have been like. And a flood is coming down to take out my T-Rex farm. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to determine what matters the most to me. And I'm going to gather that up and I'm going to fuck off to a safe spot and then come back and recover / clean up after it's over. So we go into these big major areas where it's like, we can see the geological evidence that a flood came through. We can see this, we can see that. So if there's intelligent life, it should be tangled up in that pile. And it's like, if they are intelligent, they won't be anywhere near that. They've already fucked off somewhere else. Right. And it's the cruelty of the universe. Right. But yeah, like, I mean, if something happens, unless it's happening in a way that you can't escape it, you're going to escape it. Right. So are we looking for, we're going to look for 65 million year old cities. We're not going to do that. Yeah. I think my area in New Hampshire, US was tropical near the equator at dinosaur times. Canada was tropical. At least that's what they're assuming. Canada was tropical and so was Greenland. There was a time, don't forget, let me see if I can get, there's a better map. There's a better map. Planet Earth through the ages. Ooh, is that one going to do it? Yeah, here we go. Here's one. This one might actually be a better one. This isn't going to show much. This is actually one meant for kids. This isn't a very good one. It's meant for. It looks good at a glance, and you're like, what? Planet Earth. Continental drift. That's what I want. Oh, this is a good one. Let's see if I can show it. Okay, pause. Pause. Okay. Whoops. No. Share this tab. Okay. I'm going to hit play. So this is Pangea. This is because don't forget there's like this is showing a landmass with the top is like a landmass at the at one of the poles. So, and there is debate on just exactly what Pangea, that's the original supercontinent. There's debate on what Pangea would have looked like, and there's massive debate on whether or not there were other supercontinents, plural, as the basic features changed. Then the name of the names change, right? But what came before, like what existed before Pangea? This didn't just go boop, here I am. This had to develop too. But anyway, I'm going to hit play and we'll see. Is it going to go? Okay. So this is just showing, this is what happened, right? Things move, things change. And this is just taking a look at land masses that we know existed and takes absolutely no thought whatsoever for the idea of other land masses that may have disappeared while this was happening. But we're seeing land masses appear. We're seeing land masses that are appearing during this. But I've beaten this to death, so I'm gonna try and move on in a minute once we're done watching this. But yeah. Like there was gone something was one name. There was gone some, I forget. But yeah, like this is what we eventually turn into, right? I'm going to go ahead and stop that. I'm going to go ahead and actually close that. Stop sharing there. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one right now. What did I do? Did I close it from there? I close it from there. Sometimes if you're playing a video at the same time that I'm streaming, it can make me lag really bad, and I didn't want to like end up losing the stream. Okay. So I've wasted way too much time on this. So now what are we looking at? Why would we believe? What exists? La, 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 la. Okay, let me see if I can find a good one. Actually, I've got a good one. We will. Okay, this is actually really fascinating. If you want some really interesting stuff, looking into this is a site. I'll share the site. I still gotta learn to do this part properly. Come on. So, yeah, I want to click on the photo for a high resolution. This is really interesting. Now, okay, now there is, what the hell did I just do? I got to add it to the stage is what I got to do. Okay, now, www.bible.ca. What's really interesting is because biblical scholars, of course, are also trying to understand history, but they're trying to understand history as it exists within their belief that the earth is only 6,000 years old. So they are quicker. Are we saying there's a reptilian type humanoids not now, or that there was some way back when? Way back when the Silurian Hypothesis, I noticed we got a few extra people in. So Silurian Hypothesis, named after a alien species in Doctor Who. The Silurian Hypothesis is that the Earth is so old and humans are so new that there is no reason to think that intelligent life has not developed before. That's the big piece. That is the big reveal here. So one of the really interesting things that's happening, if you look up OOPARTs, out of place artifacts are everywhere. Out of place artifacts, I'm just going through. Yeah, the Koso artifact is basically there's the Koso artifact. What's going on? Why is it over there? What happened? This is weird. Every now and again, I just do weird shit. It's fine. This is... Why is that? Oh, there we go. That's the Koso artifact, which is basically... The Koso artifact, this is an X-ray image of a strange-looking device found inside a piece of solid rock. Okay? This is a photo of a hammerhead. You can see the wooden handle, and you can see the hammerhead inside a piece of solid rock. The really interesting thing about both of these artifacts is that they cannot possibly, the area of rock that they were found puts them at least 100 million years old. Both of them. One looks like a spark plug. One looks like a hammer. When you start looking up out-of-place artifacts, the really, really interesting thing is I was mentioning the Bible, and I was mentioning it for a reason. So biblical archaeologists are people that are trying to study archaeological finds such as this. It's like mainstream science won't touch this. It's like, oh, it's some sort of anomaly. Something happened. We don't know. It's a fake. It's always a fake, right? So they're looking at stuff like this, and they're going like, well, this does not fit with our current modern view of archaeology, human evolution, blah, 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 blah. So they're looking at something like that going, it can't possibly be real, therefore it's not. Biblical archaeologists are more willing to take a look at this because they're trying to understand history, prehistory, dinosaurs. They're trying to understand all of this from the perspective of believing that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, right? Doesn't that prove that their Bible story is wrong? Well, it does, but it doesn't, right? I mean, for them, for the theory, the theory from biblical archaeologists is that the method of study is wrong. So this rock is this hammer can only exist. Okay, from their perspective, I'm not, and this is a whole separate conversation, but from their perspective, the hammer can only exist if the rock is less than 5,000 years old, right? Now, from archaeological perspective, that rock is 100 million years old, so something's wrong here. So it doesn't prove either of their, it doesn't prove, or it's that's why they call them an out of place artifact. This is an artifact. This should not exist. Period. It should not exist. And this is where the controversy comes in. I see something like that, and I'm like, well, no, I'm pretty sure the Earth is more than 6,000 years old. But if we had another intelligent civilization that lived on Earth 100 million years ago, or maybe intelligent visitors trying to colonize Earth 100 million years ago. That possibility exists too, right? Maybe both, who knows? If we had intelligent life 600 million years ago, one would assume that a tool like this, a basic generic hammer, like that's a metal, the top of the hammer is metal and it's a wooden handle, right? You would assume that if you have a degree of intelligence, as your intelligence develops, you're going to develop things like a hammer. It's going to make sense, right? So you're looking at something like that and you're going, well, the simple, it's isn't it Occam's razor? The simplest solution is usually the correct one. Well, the simplest solution is that humans are arrogant. This is not the first time that this planet has developed intelligent life. And this is proof of that. Right? Yeah, maybe future time travelers went back and placed or dropped a hammer just to befuddle us. Oh, who knows, right? Let's face it. Okay, if we had time travel, we would have all kind. If we had time travel, people would be going back to look. We don't know. Yeah, I would 100% do that. Thing is that, let me see. There is I could spell rock, that would help. Do. Ooh, this is actually a recent article. Do. No, this is weird. Okay. I took a few minutes to look up some stuff. Yeah, this is this is a maybe. Anyway, we'll have to I really need to I'll show this tab. That's from Egypt, that's from the car, it is really sad that I am I love this shit to the point where I'm glancing at this. Oh, that's from this, that's from that, that's from this, that's from that, right? It's like this one here. This one here is in Antikythera, and it's a mechanism. This is a geared mechanism that is far too advanced for the time in which it was found, which people point out as proof of the possibility of Atlantis. Anyway, let me just... The unfortunate problem about the Silurian hypothesis is that there's actually very little proof. Oh, here we go. An advanced civilization could have ruled Earth millions of years ago, says the Silurian hypothesis. So this is a 2019 article. Can we detect evidence of a prior advanced civilization? Now, detecting evidence of an advanced prior civilization, that's where it gets really, a needle in time's haystack. We probably don't have to tell you that humanity is already having a long-term effect on the planet, even as it breaks down. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna back myself up. Yeah, we're already away from it. We're already on to something else. So basically, as a hypothesis, they're not sure what that one does. They think that it's a sextant, measuring the position, measuring your position based on the position of the stars and all that stuff, right? They had ways to do that. They had ways to, a sextant was a very specific, simple device. This was way more complicated than it should have been. And nobody knows who it belonged to or where it came from. It was found in a shipwreck. So when we're going back to, did I have another one? Yes, this is, no, I don't, no, I'm not leaving that one. I got to do it from here. Okay. So two things. This one we can beat up. This one we can have a little fun with. So I was already on that one. Okay. Let's go to this one. No, that's the one I want. Okay. So I'm still on this tab. So yeah, share that tab instead. So we've got the hammer, right? There was another one. Yes, there it is. Human and dinosaur footprints. This is really interesting. The Taylor Trey McFall Riles Morris track. Okay. I don't know if StreamYard is showing this just fine. I have to go back and forth, right? So basically, we keep finding evidence of footprints. There it is. Okay. This is human footprints going this way, dinosaur footprints crisscrossing it that way. They shouldn't exist together, right? So when we see this, we automatically assume human footprints, right? But there are footprints going in one direction while dinosaur footprints go in the other. That's not possible, right? Where did the hypothesis come from? Do we have any info? Where did the hypothesis come from? Do we have any info on Silurians, what their civilization will look like, or is it just someone's fantasy? It's basically just someone's fantasy. The huge issue with the possibility of a civilization that existed more than, we can't even prove that we existed more than 10,000 years ago as intelligent. We can prove that we were primitive hunter-gatherers that lived in caves. We can't prove much else. If there was a segment of humanity that was more advanced, more intelligent, this is also related strongly back to the Atlantis hypothesis. The reason why we say Atlantis couldn't exist because we were living in caves back then. What few humans existed lived in, humans came out of Africa, hunter-gatherers, fighting for resources with Neanderthals and stuff like that, because we've got no evidence of anything more advanced than that. So, oh, hi, Free Spirit. That's okay. We're basically beating a theory to death because the theory itself has no proof. There's only ever so slightly intangible evidence that it's worth considering as a possibility. I don't think unless this was a civilization that developed the intelligence to actually get off this planet, go elsewhere, and they come back for a visit one day, I don't think we're ever gonna find the proof that it existed. Like, what if they're like, okay, we just recently realized that New Zealand was part of a continent, was its own continent, its own tectonic plate. Well, what if that's where they were centered, and now most of it's underwater? It's the tides and sediment and everything else just took it all away. You just don't know, right? But then you come across, like I said, things like this hammer that shouldn't exist because it's encased in a piece of rock. Footprints, humanoid, at the very least, footprints crisscrossing dinosaur tracks that shouldn't exist. It can't exist. Dinosaurs that were big enough to make a track like that have been gone for what does that map have to say, right? Those types of dinosaurs disappeared 65 million years ago. The only way for that to happen, but the thing is that we find them everywhere. Not everywhere. This is a dry riverbed, right? So it's like, okay, how is this even possible? Because they didn't exist at the same time. And then you go in. You guys are going to have to watch me clicking around for a second. Now, we're definitely going to go in, and some of these tracks are just too perfect. We know that hoaxes exist, right? Hoaxes exist, and we're not denying that hoaxes exist. This is where I think it's still, this is another view of the river when it's got water in it. And like I said, the interesting thing is these biblical researchers are trying to use it to prove, well, that their goal is to prove that the stone couldn't, that this area did not solidify into stone until 6,000 years ago, because they're trying to overcome how is it possible that dinosaurs could have existed? Oh, well, they had to have existed at the same time as humans. So they're trying to prove a specific theory. So they are really, really, it's not about whether or not they are right. It's about they are doing a lot of work to preserve this kind of evidence. which is beneficial for the people like me that have way different theories in mind, okay? So you can see under the water, again, so this is what this area looks like underwater. This is just proving, this is just to try and prove that it would be very difficult for somebody to come in and fake this, because they're going to have to be working most of the time through a layer of water to get to it. And that picture has been around for a very long time. And they've been digging it up and finding stuff that's been buried. Let me see if I can find this one. I can't see that. Oh, it's a video. Oh, no, there it is, there it is, there it is. There we go. Come on, come on. Yeah. Ooh. Of course it's an old site that doesn't exist anymore. I need to find this. Found a Pinterest board. Let's see if I can find it. Why is this doing this to me? Why is this doing this? This is the kind of stuff I used to eat up when I was a kid. Here's the thing, is that there it is. Okay, there it is. There it is. Share this tab. Share this tab. There it is. Okay, so on the left you see two footprints, a casting of two. Actually, I don't know if it's the casting or not. Let me take a quick look. They literally came along and chiseled this out of the ground, right? So basically, this appears very much to be it's footprint shaped, and it looks like it's a shoe. This has been around for a very long time. The really interesting thing is when you go over to there's a little arrow there on the screen, and what that's pointing to, there's a trilobite crushed into the heel of this. Yeah, I got to find some sort of an archive, because basically it's not that this stuff is not there, but I don't want to be showing videos, because it can make my live stream crash. If I could just go onto a video and go boop, there it is, I wouldn't care. But so this footprint was found like back in the 60s or whatever, right? But it looks like it when you get up close, the center is showing it closer. It's fairly flat like a shoe. But in the heel of the footprint is a trilobite. Now, you either got to be an amazingly good artist to fake out there's no way that there is no way. The trilobite itself is real, and it looks like it's been semi-crushed. So how did this happen? How did this happen when trilobites were around? Where the heck were they? Trilobites are old. Trilobites have been around for a very long time. I mean, have been extinct for a very long time. Sorry. So where this gets really interesting. Is this going to have a photo? Where this gets really interesting is like, well, wait a second. We've got evidence that shows that humans hadn't. We've got evidence that shows our lack of evolution to a certain point. Like we've only been around for about 300,000 years, and we can kind of sort of scientifically demonstrate that. So why are we finding what appears to be footprints crushing trilobites from a few 100 million years ago? That's where things like the Silurian Hypothesis come from. What did that? How could that happen? How is it even possible? It kind of gets dry and boring after that, because it kind of gets dry and boring after that, because one thing is that hoaxes are a thing. People love to do stupid shit to win stupid prizes, and then that just makes it difficult for everybody else. So we've got that happening, and it's boring. It is boring to pore over footprints. Footprints this, footprints that. Well, there it is. Yeah, now this one here. Did this just change? No, this did not change. Let's share this one. Yes, this one here. I just found this one last night. So this is a dinosaur footprint over top of what appears to be a human footprint. And where this one, and again, it's boring. It's pouring through stuff. I don't know, until we develop a time machine, or unless ET phones home, we're never going to actually get proof of this. This is kind of where we're sitting right now. We're not ever actually going to get proof of this, but as a theory, there's a certain amount of, for the way I think. How do you express this, right? There's a certain logic to this. How is it that in the last 300,000 years, we've gone from, 300,000 years, we've gone from Lucy, which was not even, was nowhere near human the way we describe humanity. Come on. This is what, okay, Lucy was one of the, okay, how old was the Lucy file? Australopithecus. Yeah, Lucy was one of our earlier ancestors 3.2 million years ago. Had to get the right date first. And this is let me get the right thing. This is an artist's impression of what Lucy would have looked like. Yeah, this is one of my little pet theories. It's like, I think intelligent life has existed in the universe for pretty much the entire time the universe has existed. Did they develop here? Did they visit here? Were they colonizing here? We're never going to know, but I do think they were here. That's my personal theory, my personal belief. And we are not going to sort out that's Lucy. Oh, no, that ain't, I love Lucy. This is one of our earliest ancestors 2 million years ago. That's one of the oldest things. And this is what over 2 million years developed into what eventually became us. And apparently eventually became, she was a precursor species to chimps, gorillas, and humans. So she's like a common ancestor, right? Thing is that, so the Silurian hypothesis, as a hypothesis, I think is very, very interesting. I think that if I were a species, if I were a cold-blooded reptilian type species, which is what the hypothesis is, that there was an intelligent species that developed on Earth hundreds of millions of years ago during the dinosaur ages, or just before, or just after, or something, and that they were cold-blooded reptilian. The logic of cold-blooded reptilian would be based on what the conditions on Earth would have been like at the time. The dinosaurs were cold-blooded, so we assume that whatever intelligent life would have developed would have also been cold-blooded. That might not be the case. We don't know. But I think it's really interesting, because when we get into the modern times, well, I don't even need to look stuff up. When we get into modern times, okay, this track, by the way, let's look at this track for a minute, though. Let's get back to this track for a minute. Let's get back to the boring shit for a minute, okay? The boring shit for a minute on this one is that there's a human footprint and a dinosaur track. It's like, oh my God, that's a hoax. Okay. There have been so many hoaxes in every field. Hoaxes in scientists just having a fake skeleton put together. Oh, I've discovered which one was it? There was one there was a huge scandal because this one skeleton was brought forward as a new species of humanoid, and they accepted it. They did this, they did that, they did this, they did that. This was like late 1800s or whatever, and then they developed technology to look at its DNA or whatever they were looking at, and find that it was a complete and total hoax of several different skeletons put together to look like this. Massive hoax. Hoaxing happens on every freaking level. Okay. Now, what they're doing, and like I said, this is the reason why I pay some attention to what the biblically based groups are doing, because the ones that we look at and go, oh yeah, Earth is 4 billion years old, it's because we support this because we believe it. They are supported because they are believed, right? So they're taking it just as seriously as we take our own archaeology. I mean, like I said, I don't have to agree with them to respect the fact that they are at least taking it seriously. Okay, so what they've done, they sliced through the rock. Is that showing up properly? What they did is they sliced through the rock. And if you look under the rock, you will see that where the toe impression was, the mud is deformed like that. And you can do that. You can do this experiment for yourself. If you lay down a bunch of stuff, if you make a footprint and have an opportunity to slice off the front of that footprint, you will find that, well, you can do it like in stone or something like that, that the foot comes down and whatever's on the surface gets pressed into the bottom. So it does create a dip. The dip is there. The dip is there to show that this is real. And it's like, well, that shouldn't be, right? It should not be real. It should not be possible. And they literally did a scan and went through several different layers and demonstrated that the dips in the surface that was being pressed on are real. Is it possible that it's still a hoax? Who knows? Who knows? At a certain stage, we have to suspend our disbelief. But these guys are taking multi-million-year-old fossils, and then they are saying, "This is what we found. Humans and dinosaurs existed at the same time." And then they're using that as proof that their theories are correct. I'm looking at this as proof that my theories are correct. So that's just how it happens, right? But yeah, a human footprint and a dinosaur footprint over top of it. We have no idea what that was. We have no idea what that human-looking footprint was. Was it a type of humanoid? Was it a was it a five-toed dinosaur? Like we've already scientifically demonstrated that bipedalism, walking on 2 feet, provides advantages. But we've also proven that intelligence has advantages and blah blah blah. So we're just babbling at this point. But I think that evidence like this, I do think it's evidence. Is it going to tell us anything about them? For all we know, they are about as so the Silurians existed. So now who were they? We have no idea. We have no idea. We have no way to know. We have no way to find out. For all we know, they were just an intelligent German Shepherd. Yeah, we don't know if they may have been only as intelligent as a German Shepherd. They may have been so far beyond us in intellect that we will never understand, that we will never catch up. We don't know. We have no way to know. And that's the fun part. That is really the fun part. I mean, for all we know, intellectually they were just like us, but we've got species. Here's a little story. Here's a little story, and this is why I believe that. Okay, this is like A plus B equals 4,697,000,000. This makes sense to me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I don't know if I can make it make sense to you. We had a lovely little bird. Let me see. Why? Oh, come on, you get up there. There we go. We had a lovely little bird called a green cheek conure. And we named him Jasper, and it was cool. And your pets, the dogs are the same way. Animals will kind of respond to what you respond to, and we talk. Like we're kind of a talkative bunch in our house, right? Always chit-chatting about something. So conures can learn words, and they can learn a bunch of words. And the more socially interactive you are with them, the more words that they can use. Well, it turns out that they can speak in context. And it's really interesting to have a conversation with a bird. That's not supposed to be, because if you talk to people, oh, birds just mimic. You can teach them to, they're just copying a sound. They have no idea what it means, right? Well, we would take Jasper out of his cage, and we had a special perch. We had a second bathroom, but it was kind of like a utility room type thing. It wasn't all that special, right? So we had a special perch above the sink. We would put him on his perch and tell him to go potty. And then we would keep him there and we would talk to him. Okay, come on, go potty. And he would go. And then once he went potty, we would, oh, good boy. And then we would take him off his perch and take him out, and he could have the run of the house. He knew that's where he was supposed to go potty, right? Okay, well, okay, whatever. So you train them and blah, 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 right? No biggie. So he could say, go potty. He could also say names. He could say, and his favorite person was Steve. So Steve, all the time. Steeb. That's how he pronounced it. And he would say other things, right? Step up was, you hold up your finger, say step up. He would step up. So now you're looking like, okay. So he's learned a few commands, right? I was like, okay. So, this does connect. This does connect. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. So then the one day, we chatted with him. He says he sensed it, he's treat. He knew what that was, right? So now it's like, okay, is he repeating keywords? Because we know both of my dogs are keyword trained. They understand certain words. They know what it means, right? So then the one day, Steve gets up, takes him out of his cage. Steve was up early for a change or whatever. Steve got up, took Jasper out of his cage, took him into the bathroom, got him to do his potty, put him on his shoulder, came over, gave him a treat. Okay? No problem. I'm not there. I don't fucking know nothing, right? All of a sudden, I come into the room because I'm usually the one, I was usually at that point the one who dealt with him first thing in the morning, that sort of thing, right? I come out, and he flies over, gets on my shoulder. Steve, potty, Steve, step up, potty, Steve, step up, potty, treat, potty, sweet, Steve. And he's freaking out. He's just saying those same things over and over and over and over again. So I said, did Steve take you for potty and give you a treat? Steve. And then he would do this noise. He would do this like this noise when he was really, really happy, right? So he's freaking out, saying the same few words over and over again. And then once I said, did Steve take you potty and give you a treat? He just Steve and then got really excited and made his excited noise and then stopped repeating that to me because he was telling me what he had done that morning. And it was the weird, and Steve was standing right there and he's like, and we're just like, whoa, because this bird was having a conversation with me. Okay. Yeah, my auntie's bird speaks to the cat all the time, and it's like having a full-on convo with the cat. Animals can communicate. This bird communicated a complete thought to me. Oh, he's just a dumb animal. It's like, no, Steve had been up with him. I forget how long. This was not a 5-minute segue. This was like whatever, and I came in like half, 3/4 of an hour later. And this bird had come up. This bird needed to tell me what he'd done with his day so far. And it's like, okay, well, wait. So how exactly do we measure intelligence again? This matters. So if an intelligent species has evolved, like, because we've got octopuses are intelligent. We've got, I talk to my dogs all the time. And if I say certain words, they will respond to it because they know what the word means and they can respond in context, which, like, okay, if I say to them, it's time for work, if I say work, now I have a certain meaning. When I say work, I mean a certain thing, but they understand it in whatever context they understand it. So if I say work, it's like, oh, well, we're not doing anything fun, something boring. For them, work is, we're not going to be doing anything special. We're just going to get things done, and then I'm going back to whatever I'm doing. It's a complete thought for them, right? So this goes back. This does connect to the Silurian hypothesis. It does. Just trust me. It does connect. I just want to get a nice photo for you guys. Well, no, I'm not even finding pictures. Wonder what this one's from. I think that's from Doctor Who. I think that's one of the more modern Doctor Who representations. Anyway, this matters because when you reach back 100 million years and you have a completely different evolutionary system with completely different creatures that we would have Jurassic Park is just a movie, right? So we have all these things that existed back then. How would you train a T-Rex? Right? How would you communicate with a pterodactyl? We know that you can do it though. This is the thing. We know that we can communicate with animals in a certain context. So if I don't know how to express this. My bird being able to my bird being able to hold on to a thought, and I don't know how long it was, probably an hour or so. My pet bird being able to hold on to a thought and communicate it to me effectively is intelligence. So when you start talking about things like the Silurian hypothesis, when you say intelligent, how are you defining intelligent? Like if you've got okay, our ancestors, some of which lived for like 1 million years, like Lucy's species survived for how long without the need to evolution usually happens based on need. If you don't need to evolve, why would there are going to be certain adaptations that happen over time, but if those adaptations are not required, they are not passed on. Like an adaptation for suddenly developing green hair is not going to affect my survival. So whether or not I pass that on becomes genetically irrelevant, right? We pass on. Yeah, chickens recognize words and they're meant to be, and they used to be dinosaurs. So the thing is, when you look at the Silurian hypothesis, you have to literally like warp your imagination into an entirely different everything. We can communicate whales and dolphins. We communicate with them. We train them. We train them to do tricks. They're wild animals that we can train to do tricks. Wolves can be trained. Dogs, cats, birds, crows and ravens and magpies. They can learn tons and tons of words. Gray parrots. Yeah, my crows talk all the time. I wish I knew what they were yelling when I walk out with the food. Yeah, my crows do it all the time. Caw, caw, give me food, give me food, give me food. And I'm like, fuck you, you got food, leave me alone. And then they're like, they have this weird little call that they do when they're begging for food. Like, come on, I mean it, give me some food. They look at me a certain way when I know I can tell when they're just being curious and when they're hoping for me to come out. Communication and intelligence manifests differently by species as it is. We have intelligent species. Some, like I said, like birds that have the ability to talk. African greys can have entire conversations. They are fucking crazy with what they can do. So it's like, so you start looking at, the Silurian hypothesis. And it's like, well, wait a second. 100,000 years ago, when we were still Homo erectus and Neanderthal and hadn't become Homo sapien yet, what was our intelligence like? We've got no way to know, right? This kind of goes into a big ass circle. It goes into a big ass circle. This is just me discussing my perspective and applying my logic, right? We have certain evidence that it's like, wait a second, like there used to be, there's like let me just stop and start the same sentence. Back when people burned coal for heat, there was a regular steady stream of stories coming out of people. You buy your coal in big lumps, you break them up into little lumps and then put them into your heaters, right? Regularly, once or twice a year, a story coming out of things that people are finding in their coal. Well, coal is like 300 million years old. That's not possible to find. They were finding pieces of chain, the hammer. They were finding things like that. And now that our modern needs have changed, we're not breaking coal in our basement anymore to heat our house, right? Oh, they won't come near me, but I've got some cool footage of my ice storm video. Mine are getting to the point where I can go to the door and open the door. And as long as the dogs don't come running out, they'll just kind of sit there. And I hold out my arm. I stick my arm to the door holding whatever food I'm bringing out for them. And they're like, okay. And then they just quietly move over to the branch that's near the balcony and wait for me. Apparently, some breeds of crows are pretty much global, but some can actually speak. Some types of crow. I don't think that happens here though. But anyway, there is a point, I promise, and the point is that if intelligent life developed 100 million years ago, 200 million years ago, if the Silurians were real, we've got no way to show whether or not they would have been a reptilian species. We've got no way to know what intelligence would have looked like. What the Brontosaurus, wasn't it, had a brain in their head and one in the back because they needed two brains just because of the. So we don't know how much intelligence they would have had. We don't know how much they would have needed. How much intelligence does it take to survive living in an environment with T-Rexes? We don't know. Did you just need to be smart? If you're nocturnal, because we're assuming that as being a cold-blooded creature that T-Rexes would only be active in the daytime. If you're a nocturnal species, you only need enough intelligence to know to go somewhere where the T-Rex can't get to you, right? We have no idea what intelligent would have meant. We had no idea, and Silurian does not imply the idea. Okay, an intelligent species, like I said, we do not know what we don't know how much. Yeah, just able to run faster. We have no idea. So, how much intelligence do they need? Would they have to, if they were living in the time of the dinosaurs, would they by default have to also be cold-blooded reptiloid creatures? We don't know. How advanced would they or wouldn't they have been? Well, they're not here now. And we've got hundreds of millions of years. We've got tectonic plates going under the ocean and we've got new plates emerging as old plates are being pulled back into the crust. Any evidence of their existence is long gone, and it is literally going to be a needle in an Earth-sized haystack to find the kind of proof. And I think we found proof. I think when we see things like this, we've got our proof. I think we've got proof that a bipedal creature existed at the same time as the dinosaurs. We've got our proof that being bipedal frees up our hands in a way that other animals don't have that freedom of motion, because even chimps and gorillas, even though they can walk on 2 feet, they still they walk on their knuckles with as front feet. But we do know that they are more, well, chimps and gorillas, they have the kind of intelligence that's required for long-term survivability in a harsh environment. So acknowledging scientifically, nobody's going to acknowledge the possibility of a Silurian existence just because of professional reputation. But yet we've got gorillas and chimps, bonobos. We've got how many species of monkey orangutans? Maybe they devolved. I mean, dinosaurs turned back into chickens. Like most of our bird species now were at one point dinosaurs, right? So we don't know. And the really interesting thing is it's our current hubris / arrogance that keeps us from admitting that the possibility exists of an intelligent life. We have no idea how intelligent they needed to be. We have no idea how intelligent they could have become. We don't. We have intelligent species now, and if you give us the right circumstances and a few 100,000 years, we could see sitting down to dinner with our neighbor, the conure, because their intelligence has increased or ours has decreased. We don't know. Anyway, that's the big long circular thing. That's the big long circular thing. Probably, well, a little less. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I have more to show than others times. I'm getting better at finding, at least having something ready. But the thing is that do I think, and I want to know what you guys think. I mean, I'm the one who can just babble away and not worry about character limits in my typing. But comment below. Let me know what you think. I think it's very likely that human life has evolved. That intelligent life has evolved over and over and over and over and over again. My story about the conure, they are intelligent. Compared to us, are they intelligent? No. Compared to compared to a regular animal, are they intelligent? Yes, because because at least some of them have figured. My conure figured out a way to communicate. Period. And stop. When my dog wants out, he knows how to communicate. Is it different from the way we communicate? Of course. They're not as intelligent, or they're not as intelligent. They're not this, they're not that. But did something exist? Did something exist during the time of the dinosaurs that we would qualify as having intelligence? Abso-fucking-lutely. Can we argue forever about just how intelligent that might be? What is that threshold? Absolutely. We can argue about that till the cows come home. But scientifically, at least, our scientists humans did not develop their intellect until A, B, and C happened, and one of those things was becoming bipedal. Yeah, that could be plausible. Could be a visiting people as well, thinking they had different lips. Yeah, here's the thing. I think it's impossible for intelligent life not to have developed. Intelligence is a survival trait. So when you've got a stable environment full of dinosaurs, because don't forget, these environments were stable for like 100 million years. Our environment has only been really stable, for the last 10,000 years. And that's when we took off. Their environment was stable for millions and millions of years. If something was slowly developing in some way, somehow, or if they had reached, okay, we have these big giant periods lasting for 100 million years. We don't know what the weather was like every single section of that period. We don't know. We don't know. We know that there was evidence of glaciation during these time periods, but I don't know. But anyway. So when we're looking at all of this stuff, did intelligent life develop? I think it did. Did it develop in the stereotypical ways that we assume? Maybe not. But I also think that it's entirely possible that at certain points there were visitors coming down for a quick hello. I think in the 4.5 billion years that this planet has existed, that there's plenty of time for an intelligent species to have emerged and subsided and got on with history. I think it's entirely possible that it may have happened more than once. So that's just me. That's just me and my thoughts, because I don't think that you can have this much life on just one planet. Think of the huge variety of life that we have on this planet. I think that it's impossible for this much life in this many forms and this many things to develop, and this be the only place it happened, and this be the only time it happened. But that's just my thinking. But anyway, so that's pretty much it. Honestly, the Silurian hypothesis is a hypothesis, and it will probably remain a hypothesis forever until we find one. Until we find one, it's going to be a hypothesis forever. And even if we find one, we're going to argue for centuries about whether or not it was intelligent. Like, imagine that gorillas and chimps do not exist. They do not exist, and then we find a fossilized gorilla one day. We're going to argue, what was it? What is it? What was it? Was it intelligent? What was it? What's going on? We're going to argue that forever. If we don't have the proof of a living, breathing specimen to actually go, oh, this is what they are, we're not going to know. As a matter of fact, before gorillas were officially discovered, giant apes, fossilized apes, were thought to be part of the human evolution. But anyway, so that's that. That's it. That's the thing. I don't know. Talking about Atlantis last week just really wanted me to expand on it for this week. Because, for all we know, the Atlanteans were Silurians. We have no idea. Like the hypothesis is that they were reptiloid, but that doesn't mean that that's what they would have been. Yeah, instant fame. This is my buddy Glix. He's a Silurian. Yeah, that would be like fucking amazing. But anyway. All right, the wife is still off in the corner. Anyway, that's it. What do you guys want to talk about next week? Let me know what you think about this week, though. Like, I mean, I think it's fascinating to discuss whether or not there is previously been intelligent life, and of course, there's also theories about there may also be, like, what if this is a subterranean species and we haven't found them because they just don't live anywhere that we would be looking, because we would assume that, we don't know. That's another hypothesis, I guess. subterranean species and stuff like that, like other intelligent species living on Earth. But now we got to decide what we want to talk about next. We got to find something a little bit more fun. What have we done? We've done generally on ghosts. We can talk about specific ghost stories. We can talk about other stuff. There's a few suggestions already in a community post that was up, so I can go look at that too. But I'm probably going to end this here today. I got to go snag the wife because we got the. Oh my God, I can't even finish the sentence. We've got the long weekend to enjoy, so want to get a head start on that. And I think we're heading out for early dinner, late lunch. I don't know what we're doing. We'll figure that out. But yeah, I want to. Last week kind of segued naturally into this week because I think they are connected. The idea of an Atlantean civilization of intelligence of humans or whatever existing for up to 100,000 years, which was according to the Edgar Cayce readings, that Atlantis existed for over 100,000 years, and then once Atlantis sunk, that is when the survivors founded Egypt and a bunch of other cultures, which is why pyramids and other thoughts and ideas are so common. But I don't know if this one, I don't know where, I don't think there's a segue from this that we could be looking at, but got to pick a topic for Were the Gods Astronauts. Oh, there is so much, there is so much, Gold from the Gods was a book that's been around for a very long time. Secrets of the Gods, Ancient Astronauts. There have been books and books and books and books written about that very topic, about other societies coming down to either colonize, visit, do whatever, or coming from other parts of the world to this part of the world. That's kind of what Edgar Cayce had to say about Egypt, was that a lot of Egypt's, the pyramids and all of that were the result of Atlanteans fleeing the disaster of Atlantis, showing up over in Egypt to start over. Yeah, the Earth is so old. Why not have civilizations coming and going? And that is exactly what I believe. I think it's entirely possible. And yeah, I mean, would every single one of these societies, groups, species, I think intelligence has emerged multiple times. I don't think it always emerges in ways that we consider, that we would, like, we don't consider my little green cheek conure to be intelligent, and yet he was intelligent enough to try and have a conversation. And we figured that out. We figured out that we could have little conversations with him, right? Like a toddler. Oh, what did you do? Did you have a treat today? Like, oh, treat. And then he'd fluff his feathers up. Like, I was so happy I had a treat today. Teaching, Coco the gorilla, teaching her sign language. They had some really interesting conversations with that. And Coco is not the only gorilla that has been taught sign language. So yeah, were the gods astronauts? I think that they were quite likely not like us. I think it was a combination of things. I always hold out hope that the dogs will one day talk back to us. You know what? I think sometimes they do. But it's in their own way, right? Like Shayla has certain, if Shayla wants something, she'll come over and scratch my leg because she's not bossy at all. And then I just start asking her, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? And she will respond. She kind of does a yes or no. Like, do you want this? Like that. Do you want this? Bark, bark. You know, and if I hit on what she really wants, she'll just start losing her mind. Do you want this? Yep. You did it. Good girl. And then she's praising me by barking at me, right? Yeah, they do it in their own way. So is it likely? That could be a topic for next week. Were the gods astronauts? I think the truth is basically, it's one of those, the truth is stranger than fiction. I think it's entirely possible that if Atlantis existed for 100,000 years, I think it's entirely possible that exploring the solar system and stuff like that came very naturally as part of their evolution. So who knows, right? But anyway, I'm gonna get going. Need a topic. I don't think I'm going to pick a topic right this second. I'll refer, but there's a community. If you go back to well, you're on the channel now. So if you look, you'll see a tab that you'll see the community. If you click that, you'll go to like regular text, regular posts, and you can leave a suggestion there if you want, or you can leave a suggestion here. Leave a suggestion here. It'll be easier for me to find. But anyway, I'm going to get going now, and we will pick a topic for next week and go from there. And if you have any suggestions that you want to see, go ahead and let me know down below, and let me know, what do you think about the possibility? What do you think about the Silurians? What do you think? Do you think that it's possible? Do you think that it's impossible? Do you think that it's something else? Oh yeah, I saw yours, Kendra. I saw yours. Like, I mean, what could make a footprint that looks like that? What could make a human-looking footprint and not be human at a time when, according to our scientists, humans didn't exist yet? Like, warm-blooded mammals did not exist yet. So this is how far back we're reaching. Warm-blooded mammals did not exist yet. So what made that human-looking footprint? And even without the idea of looking at footprints and dinosaur tracks and stuff like that, what seems reasonable? In spite of what scientists who are afraid of losing their jobs and reputation are telling us, what actually seems reasonable to you? I'm going to leave you guys with that, and I'm going to get going, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.